Welcome to Beyond Our Focus. I'm Stefan, this is Amanda, and this is Let's Palaver about the Gunslinger. Chapter 4, the Gunslinger. Chapter 5, and called The Gunslinger and the Man in Black. We have finally reached the conclusion of the book, the last chapter, the last 20 pages.
Or if you're reading the old version, it's The Gunslinger and the Dark Man, which makes no sense, but... Because
he's been called the Man in Black through the entire book, so why would you just not stick to that?
I have no idea.
Yeah, it's literally 32 or 22 pages in total. It's not very long.
That's it.
Yeah, it's very little. So we think this will be a shorter discussion. It probably will be the shortest one. There's no reason for it not to be. We don't have a drastic amount to go over.
No, not that I can
I
see.
is normal. Oh, forgot to print my notes. So they're in here.
You already got spoiled by the new sets and the fact that with the other shows you can use your phone.
Yeah, I know.
It's already spoiled.
Or it could be just that I always forget.
Yeah, that's probably it.
That's just tends to be what I do best. Is forget to actually print things out.
As you can tell, we are on a new-ish set. You have seen this one
New-ish,
before.
old-ish, kind of ish, what-ish. No one knows.
First-ish?
Yeah.
I mean, we started out here. So.
Yeah, this... Yeah, so actually, yes.
Made it full circle.
No, that's not what I was thinking.
Oh.
This will be the first time you'll be seeing our new set.
Oh.
So this week, everything you'll be seeing will all be new sets.
Yes.
We actually have moved once again and have new fancy sets that are a little more set up and designed for each individual show. So I'm really happy about that. I think it looks better. And if you're listening to the podcast because you're not watching YouTube, it matters none to you at all because you've never seen any of it to begin with. So,
but
we're happier with it.
Yes. And it as you can tell, this is going to be our most fall theme. It is fall now. I don't care what people say. It is officially fall.
It is.
Hopefully that means you will cozy up with a good book.
It felt halfway decent outside today.
Yes.
In the shade, it felt great. So...
But the sun still wanted to kill everything.
Yeah, it was still kind of hot. It was still hot in the sun, but still.
No
it was the
AC.
coolest day we've had.
Yes, I will admit that. It felt really, really nice going into work today. At too early for life.
Yeah, it was still a bit chilly this morning.
Oh, that's right. You don't like the cold.
I do not like the cold. I do not. No, I do not. Not at all.
Go home.
It's not my fault. Or it is my
It's
fault.
not your fault.
I can't help what my body likes and does not like. I cannot prevent it or help it.
Okay, well, apparently it's the same for Roland in his Dark Tower, so.
Yep. All right. Well, what was the first note you took? I took it on the very first page.
Literally, the first note I have is Bumbler, which is...
That's the second note I have.
Okay.
What was the first one?
What is your first one, then?
Oh, just them bring it Palaver. So I tend to always
Oh.
mark when they talk about palavering.
Well, usually we start out by saying something like, oh, the first line is so profound, because usually it is every chapter. So yes, this one is perfect for our podcast.
Yeah, it says, the Man in Black led him to an ancient killing ground to make palaver.
Yes!
Which is what this entire chapter is.
Yes, it is one giant palaver. But yes, the first thing I noted was cattle and bleached skulls stared blandly up at them. Cattle, coyotes, deer, rabbits, and Bumbler.
Bumbler.
You have not yet known what Bumblers are, or the glorious of Bumblers. The cutest.
When does the Bumbler come in? Is it the second or third book?
It is the...
I don't remember.
I want to say it's the third one.
I don't remember. I really don't. I don't actually remember how the Bumbler comes about.
The Bumbler comes about by it. Roland just notices that something's following them.
Huh.
And then he thought it was weird because they usually aren't just solo things.
Yeah, it's been a while. I've forgotten. It's been that one little piece.
But yes, Bumblers are adorable, and you will learn about them.
A particular Bumbler will play a nice part of these books.
Yay!
Not in this one. And where'd you say we meet that one?
I want to say it's the third one.
That's what I'm thinking, is the third. Because it would have to be the end of the second or the third, and I don't know which.
I want to say it's the beginning of the third one, because the ending, or the... We'll get there, okay?
The ending of the next book is this.
Yeah. We'll get there, okay?
Next week we'll be into the second book, and we'll start getting through.
Before things happen we don't want. Okay. The first thing that I didn't write down... I didn't write down until we actually went over everything, was the line that was taken out from the original book. But what I did write down was him saying, Roland saying, "I am in the West, Cuthbert," he thought wonderingly. "If this is not Midworld, it's close by." And immediately after that, in the original book, it pretty much says something similar to, "And in every skull," like pretty much in every eye socket of every skull he saw the face of the boy. Which I do not know why he removed that from the new one.
Yeah, I don't know. It's an odd line to remove. It just further goes into him feeling guilty about Jake.
Yeah. I don't know. It would have been a wonderful line to keep, but they didn't.
He made a decision. I don't know why. I don't know why he decided to do half the things he did in this book.
Removing that entire paragraph that was really cool in the original one. Yeah. I don't know. Otherwise, the next one I have is on the next page.
Yeah. Mine was, of course, I wrote down the Cuthbert thing as well. But before that, the mentioning of the sea. It's right here somewhere. Yeah. And there was an infallible something that spoke of the sea in the not too great distance. Which they bring the sea up a lot in the coming ones, but I didn't know that. So it's like, oh, the sea. Something we'll get very familiar with in the next book.
So pretty much, just to rewind just a little bit, if you watched our last episode, obviously you know that it ended with him sacrificing Jake, letting Jake fall, and he faced the man in black, obviously tried to kill him, did not work.
It didn't, not even a little.
The man in black pretty much just said, "Follow me, we're going to have a talk." And then this is them kind of just face to face.
This is
ready to have
the man in black who's Roland has chased for, I forget how long at this point, forever, and finally meeting up and finally trying to get some answers to his questions.
Yes. So one of the things that I wrote next is, even though they didn't have the skull part in there about Jake, he definitely still kind of pokes at Roland about what he has done.
Oh yeah, no, he throws it out there.
Because one of the things that he mentioned was, "Gather wood, Gunslinger. The side of the mountains is gentle, but at this altitude, the cold still may put a knife in one's belly. And this is a place of death, eh?" "I'll kill you," the Gunslinger said. "No, you won't. You can't. But you can gather wood to remember your Isaac."
Yep.
Yeah. That's the next thing I wrote down, is the remember your Isaac.
See, mine was right... I say right before that. Oh, never mind. It's at the bottom of the page. I know what's going on, okay? But
yes, you do get that reference, right?
No, I don't. No. I understand it's about Jake, but I don't understand what it means Isaac. I don't.
At the sake of sounding really stupid, I want to say, biblically...
I assumed it had something to do biblically, but
yes.
Me not being particularly well-versed in the Bible...
My brain's mixing things up. But pretty much it was the story of how he was told to sacrifice his son, and he did he was going to, pretty much. He put his son pretty much on the altar to sacrifice him because he wanted to show how devoted he was. It didn't go through, but he didn't actually kill his son, but as far as I know, it's been ages.
Again, that's not my forte.
Mine either. That is why it's very foggy. But I just read or watched something recently that had the exact same principle.
I do
It's gonna bother me now.
Yeah. Don't know. Well, my next note is at the bottom of this page, which is just, I thought it was kind of funny. It says, let's go up a little bit because put everything in context. The man in black lifted his hand skyward, shaking back the voluminous sleeve from a tapered, handsome hand, and brought it down rapidly, index and pinky fingers forked out in a traditional sign of the evil eye. There was a blue flash of flame, and there was fire, and their fire was lighted. And then the thing I noticed is, I have matches, the man in black said jovially, but I thought you might enjoy the magic.
He's very much a showman.
Oh, he is. He is a showman.
Just like him doing his little thing over, what was it? Nort?
Yeah.
Like at the very beginning, him jumping over him and doing all his parlor tricks to bring him back to life. Yes. And then, of course, once again, the pulling a rabbit out of the sleeve.
Yeah, where is that?
It's right after it, like literally right after it. The folds of his robe shivered, and the plucked and gutted carcass of a plump rabbit fell in the dirt.
Oh, yeah, there it is. Rabbit out of the sleeve. Yeah, which we got towards the very beginning of the book.
Yes,
God.
with Brown.
Yeah, with Brown. That seems so long ago.
I know,
Us
right?
reading the beginning of the book. I mean, I know at this point it's been a month, but God, it just seems like it was. It feels like we've gone on a journey through this book. It has really seemed like a while. Thinking back to the beginning of the journey of this book, it's like, oh God, it seems like it was so long ago. I feel like we've been reading this book for a year.
As I said, we are on Roland's journey with him.
Yeah, and
so it's going to take a bit.
And it's going to feel like a journey by the time we get through.
I mean, if you really think about it, the next one is it's this small, but it's like.
Yeah, no, this book right here, sweet, woo, sweet Christmas.
I'm missing one, just one. I don't have the Wolves of Kala.
It was not an important book anyway.
This is my favorite.
Yeah. Roland of the Keyhole. The only one I haven't read. Alright, well my next thing was, after cooking the rabbit, him giving it back to the man in black, and choosing not to eat any of it. Instead going to his jerky.
Yep.
And it says, it was salty, painful to his mouth, and tasted like tears. Like, Roland, you had a giant, juicy rabbit, and because you think it's magic, this rabbit thing he's done, you were refusing this wonderful, delicious food for your teary-tasting jerky.
Well, after everything he's been through with this guy, all the little just sneaky things this man has done.
He doesn't trust him at all.
That's a worthless gesture, the man in black said, managing to sound angry and amused at the same time. Are you afraid of enchanted meat? Yes.
Very bluntly, yes I am. Yes indeed.
And then we get our description of the man in black.
Yes, we do. I had to write down the description of Man in Black.
No, I didn't either. But it was just one of those things where it was like, oh, well, after all, we get little snippets of him throughout the entire book, and then it finally just lays it all out, which is pretty much just, his hair was black, of a ragged, matted length, his forehead was high, his eyes dark and brilliant, his nose was nondescript, the lips were full and sensual, and his complexion was pallid, as with the gunslinger's own.
He also mentioned him being a very handsome man.
Yes. And said, I expected an older man.
Mm-hmm. Like, I could have looked that way, but I decided to show you the face I was born with. My next thing was towards the bottom, which I think we discussed a little beforehand. But yeah, if I can find the exact spot. I expected an older man. Yep. Well, I say it's right here. I don't even see it anymore.
Which one is it? As far as...
I wrote it down. I'll just do that instead. It says, I am nearly immortal.
It literally was right after I said, I am an older man. Or I thought you were an older man.
Apparently I was looking.
Because it says...
Oh, it does, yeah. I expected an older man. Why? I am nearly immortal, as are you, Roland. For now. At least. That's an interesting line.
It is.
Because in no point ever reading these books have I ever thought of Roland immortal in any sense. But I guess in some way it seems like he survived this long. He's gone through so much. And we don't really understand how long things have been. How long this has been going. But, it's interesting.
But then again, it's like... The whole thing pretty much this entire conversation starts, because he's like, see, Gunslinger, the sunset, you won't see another sunrise for what may seem a very long time. So, that kind of doesn't make sense, and then, a little bit later, we find out that he has somehow, or his master has somehow extended the night.
Yes, that's what he says. Which I guess it makes sense. But for at least context of this night that lasts for so long as they're discussing and talking.
It's just weird.
I mean, Roland goes to sleep, I think, at like 2 different points.
Yeah.
And wakes up and it's still nighttime.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, my very next note is the first card.
Yep, mine just says, whoa.
Oh.
I forgot to mention something.
What did you forget to mention?
It was, go ahead with yours.
What?
What time is it on the thing?
No!
Well, then
No! You're making this difficult on me.
Well, I'm sorry.
Well, we will discuss it afterwards if it's spoilery.
Yes,
okay?
good.
Take note. I thought it was for this.
Okay, go ahead.
Go on.
Well, for some reason I have it above the... Okay, because he does actually say the cards after that, so go ahead.
No, so... We're continuing onward.
Okay.
Amanda over here trying to spoil future books and stuff.
I didn't... No. Okay, go ahead.
I don't know what's going on.
Shut it.
I mean, you could have just read the line and we could have gone, aha, and just moved on. I don't know. Anyway, the first card, because he decides to do a little, a tarot reading for good old Roland here?
Mm-hmm. These are tarot cards, Gunslinger, of a sort.
Well, she's throwing in some of his own.
Yes, that's nice.
Yeah. The first card was turned. The Hanged Man. The man in black said, the darkness had given him back his hood, yet here, in conjunction with nothing else, it signified strength, not death. You, Gunslinger, are the Hanged Man, plotted ever onward towards your goal. Over the pits of Nayar, you've already dropped one co-traveler into that pit, have you not?
Yes.
Yeah, Roland.
The second card, the Sailor. Note the clear brow, the hairless cheeks, the wounded eyes. He drowns, Gunslinger, and no one throws out a line. The boy Jake. He's such an asshole.
Yes. I think you're just making up stuff, buddy. How does a sailor have anything to do with all that? The third card. Very important card. The Prisoner.
Yes.
The man in black said, the fire... Well, actually, let's go up, because we get a description first.
Yes.
The gunslinger winced, said nothing. The third card was turned. A baboon stood grinningly... Grinningly? Thank you, grinningly. I can barely say it. Astride of a young man's shoulders. The young man's face was turned up. A grimace of stylized dread and horror on his features. Looking more closely, the gunslinger saw that baboon held a whip. The prisoner, the man in black said. The fire cast uneasy, flickering, blah, blah, blah. This terror, the gunslinger flicked his eyes away. Yeah, so, the prisoner. The wonderful prisoner.
Yes. The fourth card. A woman with a shawl over her head sat spinning at a wheel. To the gunslinger's dazed eyes, she appeared to be smiling craftily and sobbing at the same time. "The Lady of the Shadows," the man in black remarked. "Does she look two-faced to you, Gunslinger?" "She is. Two faces, at least. She broke the blue plate." What do you mean? I don't know. And in this case, at least, the gunslinger thought his adversary was telling the truth. I was supposed to check to see if that was in the old one, and I forgot.
Which part?
The blue plate.
The blue plate, yeah. The blue plate, yeah. Very, very specific.
Yes.
Will definitely be brought up in the next book. Church. Oh, there we go. Here's the fifth card. A grinning reaper clutched a Sith with bony fingers. "Death," the man in black said simply, "yet not for you."
That's another reoccurring line.
Over and over and over.
The sixth card. "The tower," the man in black said softly. "Here is the tower." The gunslinger's card occupied the center of the pattern. Each of the following four stood at one corner, like satellites circling a star. "Where does that one go?" the gunslinger asked. The man in black placed the tower over the hanged man, covering it completely. "What does that mean?" the gunslinger asked. The man in black did not answer. "What does that mean?" he asked raggedly. The man in black did not answer. "God damn you!" No answer. "Then be damned to you. What's the seventh card?"
The man in black turned the seventh. A sun rose in a luminous blue sky. Cupids and sprites sported around it. Below the sun was a great red field upon which it shone. Roses or blood? The gunslinger could not tell. Perhaps, he thought, it's both. "The seventh card is life," the man in black said softly, "but not for you." None of this is for Roland!
"Where does it fit in the pattern?" "That is not for you to know now," the man in black said, "or for me to know. I'm not the great one you seek, Roland. I am merely his emissary."
He flipped the card carelessly into the dying fire. It charred, curled, and flashed to flame. The gunslinger felt his heart quail and turn icy in his chest.
And then, of course, he pretty much feeling like he got his answers and was completely sick of the man in black, chose this moment to just try to charge.
Yeah, he's like, "I can't shoot you, but I can strangle you with my hands."
So he leapt at him and suddenly was just...
Yeah, it didn't work out well for him.
He dreamed.
He dreamed. That is the next thing. That's actually my next note. Just, he dreamed. At the very end of this particular little piece. Alright, where's my next one? Two more pages. I guess I didn't make any more notes for a moment.
Well, mine, the first thing I noted was that pretty much what he's dreaming is, what? You broke your book?
Yeah.
What the hell, Stefan?
Apparently I'm violent.
This is why you can't have nice things.
Apparently. Sweet. Don't fall apart, buddy.
But it's fine. It's just joining the rest of us, okay?
I guess.
But pretty much he is going through creation. Like, the start of, it's pretty much the definite, complete order of biblical creation. Just blackness, then planets, then all this kind of stuff. Like dinosaurs dying and
Come on, dinosaurs are not in the Bible. Don't throw them into the biblical sense. We know they never existed. They were just random bones that we've made up. And come on.
Okay. But the one thing I noted was the horizon of this vast and fecund earth began to curve. Yes, they had all said it curved. His teacher Vinay had claimed it and had been proved long before the world had moved on. Take that, you flat earth theory people.
Yeah, this book, this fiction book says it's round. It has to be.
Otherwise, I mean, he goes through, he's seeing all the planets upon planets upon planets, and then...
Let there be light.
He's traumatized at this point. Pretty much, let there be light. No, please. Let's not do this anymore. And light, and no more, please. He's pretty much begging at this point. And then I assume your next note is the one I have as well.
Yeah, I just have, never!
Well, yes, it's the voice of the man in black whispered silkily in his ear. And there's that word again. Then Renege, cast away all thoughts of the tower. Go your way, Gunslinger, and begin the long job of saving your soul. And then there's your line right there.
Well, he says, gather himself. Ultimate meaning. Final answer to the subject. Never. Then let there be light.
And there was light. So, once again, how many times
has Roland been told, hey,
stop.
We can make things better. You can be better. Things can be good for you. Just turn away. And every single time, Roland's like, no, I can't, I won't, never. And he doesn't. He really, really doesn't. All right.
So pretty much with that, he wakes up. The next note I have is Walter O'Dim.
Walter O'Dim, right up here at the top, yeah. Oh, this next page. Yeah, mine's down here, so.
Okay. Oh,
mine was at the bottom. Yours was before bottom.
I was like, well, you said yours is right here, so I
said mine's down here.
Oh, okay.
Yours is up here.
No, mine was just says, he pushed himself up from where his demon spring at the man in black had carried him, and looked at the ironwood where Walter O'Dim, as some along Roland's way had named him, had been sitting. He was gone. Over here, Gunslinger. I don't like you so close. You talk in your sleep. Which isn't the first time that Roland's talked in his sleep.
You tend to do that. It's also interesting that my next note just was a little section where Roland's confused. He doesn't understand what universe means.
Yeah. I literally just wrote 237 through 238, and it just says Man in Black about the tower.
About the tower.
Yeah.
Yeah, my next one is both on the next page.
Yeah, because it just says, you want the tower, the man in black said. It seemed to be a question. Yes. Well, you shan't have it, the man in black said, and smiled with bright cruelty. No one cares in the councils of the great if you pawn your soul or sell it outright, Roland. I have an idea of how close to the edge that last pushed you. The tower will kill you half a world away. You know nothing of me, the gunslinger said quietly. I made your father, and I broke him.
Yeah, that was my next note. I made your father and broke him. We get tons of hints of what happened to the fall of Gilead, but never, as far as we're, there's not much out there about actually what happened. At least nothing directly from King himself. The comics might touch on it a little bit more, but they're not 1,000,000% canon with everything. But isn't that right? I know. You're tired too.
Puppy's giving her point of view on it. Which reminds me, okay, just sort of off topic for a minute. How do you say the name of his town?
Because you just heard me say it.
I know, but I need to know these things.
Well, this is one of those things
because it's okay
that you read and you say it however you say it because there is no definitive. I'm sure there is.
Well, it's just like with
I've seen
with Palaver.
Yeah,
like I actually looked up Palaver because I was like, well, is this a word he made up or is it an actual word?
Well, it's very much a word.
It is a word, and it does like we went over the. We went over like the actual pronunciation because I originally thought it was Palaver.
Yeah.
And it's Palaver. With this name, I didn't know if you had seen it or heard it. Like, as far as...
I want to say I looked it up, and I want to say that... I say Gilead.
I say Gilead.
Gilead, yeah.
Gilead.
I think that's more how I originally said it when reading it, but I think I looked it up and changed to Gilead.
Where?
But I don't know. That's just how I pronounce it. Whether it's right or wrong, I don't know. We need a Google search and how do you say this? How do you say this? I'm sure there is a more official way.
Yeah.
But I want to say I looked it up, and that's why I say Gilead.
I don't know.
Instead of Gilead.
We'll have to look it up.
We'll have to.
And
I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer.
Originally, before we even started this series, I wanted to get the Dark Tower companion book. Like, I've always wanted it. But I just haven't gotten around to it yet.
It'd be cool. It'd be very, very cool.
Our mascot is just
excited.
Getting all the attention.
She needs to be involved.
Yeah.
What did I write next? Yeah, that got mentioned multiple times too. This is not the beginning, but the beginning's end.
You do well to remember that, but you never do. I don't understand. No, you don't. You never did. You never will. You have no imagination. You're blind that way. People are really harsh on Roland about how just stubborn and blunt and just not imaginative he is.
Yeah, he's made it this far, but the man has no imagination and don't do well with jokes.
No.
Which we'll find a lot more in the next book. I have this too. It said, I am the well, these are both my next two notes. It says, I am the furthest minion of he who now rules the Dark Tower, and Earth has been given into the King's red hand. Red. Why do you say red? Never mind. We'll not speak of him, although you'll learn more than you cared to if you press on.
What hurt you once will hurt you twice.
Quite interesting.
Yes.
See, because that's that, and my next one's on the next page. Another.
Yeah, mine's.
This one's about how much time has passed.
Huh?
Or how much time, period, since the world had moved on.
Okay.
That was an interesting line.
I literally just wrote down 239 through 243 about the fall, galaxies, and size.
Well,
so yeah,
you got a lot there. You got a lot going on there.
So you go right ahead. North Central Positronics.
Good on North Central Positronics. Where? It says in the middle, but where in the middle?
I don't know, but I really liked the Gunslinger. Our many times great-grandfathers conquered the disease which rots, which they called cancer. Almost conquered aging, walked on the moon. I don't believe that.
Now that's what I had on as well, is that I don't believe that everything was cool, you threw the moon, don't believe it. I've seen magic, this tower, the beam, everything, and the one thing you don't believe is that we got to the moon at some point?
You needn't, yet it was so.
Oh, yeah, that was the one after this one that I'm trying to find.
His little thing about how he's talking about other things that we had accomplished before the world moved on. Roland actually sits there and goes back and forth with him in the old one. Like it says, there was no great odes written to the wonders of artificial insemination. And Roland says, what's that? And he says, having babies from frozen man sperm. And he says, bullshit. And then he says, or cars that ran on power from the sun, and Roland said something else. Like, they took that out, but in the old one, Roland actually goes back and forth with the man in black about
I actually would have kind of preferred that a little more.
Why?
Why? But yeah, this was a fact of the universe existing alone defeats both the programmist and the romantic. There was a time, yet 100 generations before the world had moved on, when mankind had achieved, blah, blah, blah. But 100 generations.
So yeah, this is way past us.
And then he starts talking about all this other stuff that still is even a little beyond our time. This is beyond our time now, but it's still so far back. 100 generations. Like, when does this take place? What do you consider a generation? If you say 100 generations. But because usually that's like only so many people, but every person is born. Like, if you say the average time when people have kids are generally, what, in their early 20s, late teens? So if you say generation, so like every 20 years there's a new generation, so that kind of works that way. So would we say 100 times 20?
Oh my
Which is like, I think like 2,000 years or something?
Either way, that's just... Yeah, okay, think about this. Think about this for a minute. Imagine that it's that far ahead, yet the things he picks out to bring to Roland are things that are still our age. Mm-hmm. Like, why would you bring up walking on the moon if hopefully by then we've already walked on who knows how many planets and shit? Like, why would artificial insemination be a key point to draw out if, by then, cloning?
But so like, when did the world move on? Because there's even stuff that, there's other things that happen in here that is from when before the world moved on that is still beyond us.
Well, yeah,
now.
Of course.
So, but yes, it's weird that
the things he picks out are...
But there's also a book that was written in the 80s, which is also why...
That's true. Definitely.
King can only pick out certain things.
Yes.
He can't see into the future to a point.
How do we know this shit?
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when you start trying to do things like that or mess with the future, it's like... things like this is a time of its age. It's like when you watch the original Alien movie. It takes place like hundreds of years in the future, but they have like the old screen text computers with the fatbacks and stuff. It's like, well, this is like...
Well, yeah, it's just like if you watch older movies now where it says in the year 2018, and it's like people in flying cars and stuff, and you're like, where is he?
We're not quite where you think we would have been by that time.
But the next thing I wrote down was size. It's the size encompasses life, and the tower encompasses size. I liked how he said, the child who is most at home with wonder says, Daddy, what is above the sky? And the father says, the darkness of space. The child, what is beyond space? The father, the galaxy. The child, beyond the galaxy? The father, another galaxy. The child, beyond the other galaxies? The father, no one knows. You see, size defeats us. For the fish, the lake in which he lives is the universe. What does the fish think when he is jerked up by the mouth through the silver limits of existence and into a new universe where the air drowns him and the light is blue madness, where huge bipeds with no gills stuff it into a suffocating box and cover it with wet weeds to die?
Yes. I very, very, very much liked that portion.
I really did too. It's just... It's kind of like... what movie? It's going to bother me now. What movie was it where he says... he's talking about monsters. It's Jurassic World.
I'm trying to forget about that movie. Anyway, what?
First Jurassic World.
I didn't care for either of them.
Get out. Either way, he says monster is a relative term. To a canary, a cat is a monster. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Everything's all about perspective.
Yes.
And in his case, it's more about size and how finite we are. And because it goes so much further than that, talking about how we're a blade of grass, or we're just a grain of sand a galaxy is a grain of sand in the desert as Roland walked through it, kicking thousands of galaxies across and destroying. It's like,
Jesus, I don't think I can do this.
Like we get real deep, in these few pages.
Everything in the universe denies nothing. To suggest an ending is the one absurdity.
The thing is, we still, They actually even go to that, is talking about how even in our time, for how much knowledge we kept gaining, we didn't really ever achieve anything.
Yeah.
We never figured out anything for how much knowledge we gained.
Oh my goodness.
And
then the craziest part, one of the crazy things is, if you fell outward to the limit of the universe, would you find a board fence and signs reading dead end? No. You might find something hard and rounded, as the chick must see the egg from the inside. And if you should peck through that shell, or find a door, what great and torrential light might shine through your opening at the end of space? Might you look through and discover our entire universe is but part of one atom on a blade of grass? And it's just crazy to think about.
No. In the entire book, I think these few pages about him talking about the universe and size and everything, probably some of my favorite pages of the whole book.
Yes.
I didn't hear anything, but anyway, you did.
Sorry, it sounded like someone ran up the steps.
I don't think so, but... Or we're going to be dead any second. It's all caught on camera. Maybe someone will post it for me.
I forgot
don't know.
to close the blind, so there's...
But all I want to say is, going through the definition, they're like, only on the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, I know, right?
Because this is literally some Twilight Zone crap going on here.
It's just... Because, yes, then he goes on to talk about the Mohane Desert. And then, of course, is the line you had brought up earlier. Which is...
I don't know which... Over here. Okay. Sides, Gunslinger, sides. Yet suppose that all worlds, all universes, met in a single nexus, a single pylon, a tower, and within it, a stairway, perhaps rising to the Godhead itself. Would you dare climb it to the top, Gunslinger? Could it be that somewhere above all of endless reality, there exits a room?
Exists.
Just smack me one. There exists a room. I said this right earlier. You dare not. And in the Gunslinger's mind, these words echoed. You dare not. God. Someone has dared. This is also interesting. So someone has dared, the Gunslinger said. Who would that be? And he says, God. God, the Gunslinger says softly. His eyes gleamed. God has dared. Or the king you spoke of. Or, in this room... Or, is the room empty? Sire? Or seer? Seer, probably. I don't know. Far past over the man in black's bland face. A soft and dark as buzzard's wing. And furthermore, I don't ask. It might be unwise. I'm afraid of being struck dead. Perhaps afraid of an accounting.
Yes. It's just crazy. All of this is just crazy. I don't know. The next note I have is about pretty much like right after that, it's like Roland, all he can say is the fire, I'm cold.
Oh.
But no, the next thing I have is about equals.
Yes, I know what you're talking about, but I don't know where it's at. My next one is Ageless Stranger, so.
Okay. So before we get to that, the paragraph was shall we tell the truth then, you and I? No more lies? I thought we had been. But the man in black persisted as if Roland hadn't spoken. Shall there be truth between us, as two men? Not as friends, but as equals. There's an offer you will get rarely, Roland. Only equals speak the truth. That's my thought on't. Friends and lovers lie endlessly, caught in the web of regard. How tiresome. Well, I wouldn't want to tire you, so let us speak the truth. Start by telling me what exactly you mean by glamour. But first off, in that line right there, exactly what you mean by glamour, does not make sense in the new version, because he does not say the word glamour. The old version, he does. He says something about magic and glamour. which is not in here. So Roland saying, tell me exactly what you mean by glamour has no context at all. But before that, also in the old version, he says, not as friends, but as enemies or equals, because only enemies will tell you the truth.
Yeah, I mean, I like that. Either works, but that just that throws more of what they are.
Yeah, they're on opposing sides.
They very much are.
Yes. But yeah, the whole glamour thing does not make sense unless you read the old one.
That's interesting that he would overlook something like that.
I think he must have just forgot about it.
That's odd.
But yes, the next part is the ageless stranger.
Yeah. Who is your king? I have never seen him, but you must. But before you meet him, you must first meet the ageless stranger. The man in black smiled spitelessly. You must slay him, Gunslinger. Yet I think it is not what you wished to ask.
The ageless stranger.
The ageless stranger, which I hadn't even thought about that. Yeah. And we had to do some severe research to kind of figure out what was going on with that, because I had forgotten about that at all.
Yes.
Altogether.
Especially, and it made it more confusing, because it says, and the stranger, does he have a name? Oh, he is named. And what is his name? Legion. Which in the old version, his name was Merlin, or Marilyn. Which sounds very like Merlin, but it's not spelled the same. So because he does earlier in the book mention Merlin.
Yeah.
So this is Marilyn.
Yeah, but no, Legion for context works better.
Yes.
We're not going to spoil it, but it works better for what he's actually talking about. It was a good change.
It was definitely a good change.
It kind of fixes a few things, or makes it where the Man in Black isn't really lying. Because otherwise, it seems like he just spit fake lies to its face about it. Where this actually makes a lot more sense.
I do, however, like through this conversation, it's not really foreshadowing, but it is kind of getting inside the minds of the characters. Because both of them know that they want to talk about something, but neither of them are talking about it. Like, the Man in Black knows Roland wants to know things that are specific. And Roland knows he wants to know certain things, but he keeps asking questions, and the Man in Black keeps answering it, but he's like, this isn't what you want to know. And Roland asks another thing, and he's like, well, it's this, but it's still not what you want to know.
You very specifically want to know one very specific thing, which is my very next note.
Yes.
Which is the very bottom of my particular page. Oh, yes. Whispered the Man in Black, but none of these things are what you wish to ask. True. All right, the Gunslinger said, and then asked the world's oldest question. Will I succeed? Will I win through?
If I answered that question, Gunslinger, you'd kill me.
I ought to kill you. You need killing. His hands had dropped to the worn butts of his guns. Those do not open doors, Gunslinger. Those only close them forever. They tend to. They tend to close a lot of doors. Let's see, where's my next? Oh, like 2 more pages. Oh no, my next one is the bottom of this page, and then 2 more pages ahead.
Yeah, mine's like 2 more pages ahead, so.
This one was just, see if I can find exactly where it is.
The realization of who he was?
Yeah. Then hear this. When you returned, Martin had gone west. Oh, yeah. And although Martin was long gone by then, there had been a man who sometimes made you think of him. Was there not? A man who affected the dress of a monk and the shaven head of whatever that word is. Walter the Gunslinger whispered, and although you had come this far in amusing ball truth, you weren't in her lap. The Man in Black tilted just okay. I don't know exactly. The whole point is that Martin is Walter. Walter is this man.
Pretty much what he in that short little thing, he realized that Martin, the guy who had done this to his mother, to his family, everything like that, when they said that Martin disappeared and Roland, wanted to pretty much go after him. Roland had the desire to chase him and didn't. In the end, Martin never left. He just changed
his appearance
to
be this monk.
Walter, which is another character who does horrible things. So
yes.
It's like, in Roland's mind, they were still two separate people, but the Man in Black just confirmed, nah, I never left. I just changed.
Yes, he tends to like to do that.
Asshole.
He does, yeah. He really, really is.
You never left, the gunslinger repeated, stunned. You only changed.
All right, and we both have the same exact next one.
Yes.
Because it's so important. That's literally the name of the next book. Oh, where are we here? Okay, where's the best? The Man in Black told him again that he must go to the sea, which lay no more than 20 easy miles to the west, and there would be invested. Oh, sweet baby.
Slow down.
And there he would be invested with the power of drawing. But that's not exactly right either, the Man in Black said, pitching his cigarette into the... Okay. Somehow you put this together better than I did. I don't know. Anyway, the power of drawing.
Oh, okay. It just says, but that's not exactly right either, the Man in Black said, pitching his cigarette into the remains of the campfire. No one wants to invest you with the power of any kind, Gunslinger. It's simply in you, and I am compelled to tell you, partly because of the sacrifice of the boy, and partly because it is the law, the natural law of things. Water must run downhill, and you must be told. You will draw 3, I understand, but I don't really care, and I don't really want to know. The 3, the gunslinger murmured, thinking of the oracle.
Which we already heard earlier in the book.
Yes. And then the fun begins, but by then I'll be long gone. Goodbye, gunslinger. My part is done now. The chain is still in your hands, where it doesn't wrap itself around your neck.
And then my next 3 notes are on the same page. Because we're so close to the end.
Mine just says 250, page 250. So.
Well, your pages are different. My pages. Yeah, my next one. Oh, yeah, is after he wakes up.
Yeah,
but
that's it.
Yeah, they get talking, and Roland goes back to sleepy sleep.
Yeah, I do like how that he ended that discussion, because it's like this entire discussion, at the beginning of it, he was like, light. Then during Roland's dream, he was like, there's light, let there be light, let there be light. And then when Roland wakes up and it's still nighttime, he kind of looks towards the horizon, as you'd call it, and the Man in Black says, wow, you're really seeking the light, aren't you? And Roland says, well, I am
creature of light.
Yes, I am a creature of light. And he says, oh, how dare me to forget that? But then pretty much it just says, compelled by something outside him, Roland said, you have one more thing to say, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the Man in Black said, and he smiled at the gunslinger with his depthless eyes and stretched one of his hands out toward him. Let there be light. And there was light. And
this time, the light was good.
And then Roland wakes up.
Yep, Roland awoke by the ruins of the campfire to find himself 10 years older.
Jesus. This is a long talk.
You're telling me.
Whew.
His black hair had thinned at the temples, and there had gone the gray of cobwebs at the end of autumn. The lines in his face were deeper, his skin rougher. Let's see where.
The Man in the Black was a laughing skeleton in a rotting black robe. More bones in this place of bones. One more skull in this Golgotha.
My next note, of course, was the very next line. Or is it really you, he thought. I have my doubts, Walter. Oh, Dim, I have my doubts. Martin, that was.
Yeah, that's not in the other one. 10 years.
10 years. That's insane.
I know that the Man in Black said, it's gonna be a while. Like, this is gonna, you're not gonna see the sunrise for a long time.
But I guarantee it didn't feel like 10 years to Roland.
That's like 30 days a night.
And then my very last one on this page, before the very last page, is the very, very bottom of my page.
I didn't note it, but I do like the fact that he just ripped the jaw.
Oh, yeah. I enjoyed that, too.
Yeah, reached over to the skeleton, ripped the jaw off, and shoved it into his pocket.
Hey, you have to take the bones.
A fitting enough replacement for the one lost under the mountains.
Exactly. You have to take those bones from, how did he phrase it? From,
It
deals with seeing the future or fortune.
It's speak prophecy.
Yes.
Something about the prophecies are told by corpses, pretty much, like skeletons. And I can't remember exactly how he wrote it.
Yeah. I wish I remembered. But yeah, my last thing was, he began west again, and his back set against the sunrise, heading towards the ocean, realizing that a great passage of his life had come and gone. I loved you, Jake, he said out loud.
That was sad. Well, Roland, you did this to yourself.
And of course, my very last thing is the very last line of the last page. So, unless you had anything else.
Nope, that was it.
Alright, it says, the gunslinger waited for a long time of the drawing and dreamed his long dreams of the dark tower, to which he would someday come at dusk and approach, winding his horn to do some unimaginable final battle. And that, my friends, is the end of book 1.
We made it! We have survived the first length of the journey.
My book barely made it.
Apparently.
It's coming apart here. What a good book to go back through again.
It really is. Like, definitely I do like his changes that he made. It does make it feel a lot more like...
Yeah, there's a few things he took out which we would have preferred him to leave in, but there's a lot he added that help with everything and really make it feel like the rest of the series. So this book was written so differently from all the others.
I like that he incorporated the language that grew throughout the books.
Yes.
I like that he brought characters, definitely, that had no mention or had very, very little mention that made no sense originally. But there are, like you said, there were some really cool lines or lines that made more sense that he left out. Like, one of the biggest ones was when he was when they were originally talking about the prophecy from the Oracle. And it was about the woman. Like, in the original, it was she came on wheels, and this one, it just says, there's a lady.
Yeah, it was very shortened. Some weird things he took out, but a lot of goodness that he added to the book.
Yes.
Like I said, the language in general, a lot of words and stuff that was not originally used in the book at all. It's now in there and very prominent. And characters that will pop up and little things here, even like the mention of the Bumbler.
Yes.
That wasn't in the original book, but we will get at some point. And having it there, it's just like, oh, this seems familiar because I've read it before.
Yeah.
And small characters, some characters thrown out because he never uses them again, and some characters added because they become bigger parts and later in the books. Looking for some specific there?
Yes. Okay. Take the dead from the dead. The old proverb said, only a corpse may speak true prophecy. That's why he took the job on.
Yes. So, therefore, he takes this job on as well.
To replace one lost beneath the mountains.
If we didn't make it very specific, I kind of was there. The very end of the book, we kind of skipped a little bit. He heads, of course, to the sea and has a nice little seat.
I forgot about
and
that.
waits.
Yeah.
And I think one of the last things, he goes to sleep, doesn't he?
Yeah, it says something about he dreams.
Yeah.
He dreamed.
There we are.
I love how we just skipped the entire
I know, we went from one piece, and we skipped the last couple of areas just to read the last paragraph, or the last little piece. There the gunslinger sat, his face turned up in fading light. He dreamed his dreams and watched as the stars came out. His purpose did not flag, nor did his heart falter. His hair, finer now and gray at the temples, blew around his head, and the sandalwood guns followed smoothly to the hips. The dark came down, and the world moved on. The gunslinger waited for this time of the drawing. Yeah, when it was blowing a horn. Yeah.
So, pretty much, he's just sitting by the ocean.
Sitting by the ocean and goes to sleep.
Because that's what the man in black told him to do, was that he had to go to the ocean and wait.
Yep.
And
that's what he does. And that is where we'll pick up in the next book.
Yes. And it literally... And my copy's a little beaten up.
Yeah.
That's the way I like my books. I like my books with history. It smells good too. I love the smell of books, I'm sorry. But yes. Literally picks up right from there. This one is, I don't know how many pages it is for you, but
I have to get my book. I should have brought
463.
it. Twice as long as this one. Twice. What is the very first line? Let's give the people a tease.
Okay. The very first line, not including the
forward or whatever else.
The prologue is, the gunslinger came awake from a confused dream which seemed to consist of a single image, that of the sailor in the tarot deck from which the man in black had dealt, or purported to deal, the gunslinger's own moaning future. And if you remember, the sailor was Jake.
Jake, yeah.
So the first thing he does when he wakes up is he's thinking of Jake.
Yep, and then some of the things happen immediately. But you'll find out next week!
He drowns, gunslinger, the man in black was saying, and no one throws out the line. The boy Jake.
Yep. So we'll be jumping into that next week. I cannot wait to get in this book. I love this book. This is
one of my favorites. Definitely. Whew.
But from this point, there should be no differences. They're all the same book. I'm pretty sure he didn't rewrite any of the other ones.
The only one that he went back and did was the first one, and it was because he didn't know exactly where it was going till it was done.
And it helped. A lot of quality of life things for the book. It really helped it. So that's good.
I'm just going to sit here and huff.
And just here, huff. Anyway. Well, any final words you want to say about the book before we wrap things?
I don't think so. It's not too much happened in this book, but at the same time, it was great foundation. It was the solid step we needed, that first step in the stairs to the tower.
Yes. Definitely the shortest book. Definitely, in my opinion, again, the most different of all the books. Again, all the changes helped a lot, but it's still the most different of all of them.
Yes.
It's the shortest one of all of them. It's the one where, in a lot of ways, the least amount happens, other than kind of the Kala, which it is what it is.
Yeah.
But so very, very interesting. A very great read to get back through it again.
Oh yeah, and I mean, like, even if you want to, like, if you're just finding us and you want to hop in, but you're like, well, they've already finished one book, I don't know if I can do this. Literally, it goes by so fast. So,
oh no! If you read it all, this is a tiny book.
Yeah.
It's barely over 200 pages. It's a very quick read. So we've just drug it out for 5 weeks. So I promise you can catch up.
Yes, and I mean, we do only read a chapter. I don't know how we're going to split up this next one, because the chapters are a tad bit longer.
Or a whole lot more, because this actually looks really, really different. We'll figure it out, and we'll go over it next week, how we're going to break up these chapters, and exactly figure out how things are going to work.
Yeah.
Because if they're really tiny, we might be with one.
Yeah, the prologue is right there.
Yeah, but if they're really big, we'll only read one. We'll see. We'll figure it out. This took us 5 weeks to get through. That's twice as long. So there's a good chance that's going to take us... Oh, baby. Ooh. Oh, God. Oh, like 2.5 months.
Okay. So, yes, they split them up by chapters, but they're also split up by sections. Like, here's the first chapter right there, but this is the entire section.
We'll figure it out. Yeah. We're going to have to go over it. We'll have to decide how we're going to do this to make it make the most sense and how short or how long our episodes to be. Even this final thing it's going to end up running about an hour and 10 minutes-ish. So, still the shortest one we've done.
Yes.
And we've only dragged out the last 10 minutes talking about nothing, essentially.
It's all part of the journey.
It is, and it was fantastic. But any final anything? Final?
Not at all. I mean, hey, if you're reading along with us, make sure you give... What did you think? I mean...
No, we'd love to know what you think. In all the comments, each chapter, throw some comments down of every episode to let us know what you thought of each chapter. But...
definitely, I mean, if you haven't... What?
We didn't say the date.
I didn't even write the date.
I know, because we don't have the board!
It's at your place!
I don't even know the date.
Oh my god.
I don't, and I can't get to my phone. So,
okay.
Not that it matters at the end of the podcast anyway.
Okay. So...
It'll be alright. I don't even know.
Monday the 15th.
Will it be? Sure. This is airing on Monday the 15th. Not that it matters the last 20 seconds of the podcast. Alright, we gotta get better at that. We have to. But I believe that's it. As always, you can find me at BGJ Gamer, Amanda at KC Pup, the show at Beyond Our Focus on Twitter, Instagram, where we do behind the scenes stuff, and Facebook. Or you can, of course, listen to any of this on podcast services. We're not on everything. SoundCloud, something we're not on. Yeah. But we're on Spotify and a whole bunch of other things, or like 8 other podcast sites. So you can find us there, listen through things that way. Unless you are listening to us that way. Then we're also on YouTube. I never mentioned YouTube, just in case people have listened through the podcast services. I get used to I think about this as a YouTube thing, but it really is just a podcast.
It is. And I mean, especially if you want to see what we're doing, the weird faces that we make, our sets, everything like that, definitely YouTube is the way to go.
Yeah. We do a little bit on Instagram. You can see some on Instagram. But.
Yeah, because sometimes things will happen and we will forget to actually say what's going on, and so the podcast listeners might be a little confused.
But I think podcasters have that a lot. You can only do so much, especially when you're filming in front of a camera. It's like you just get used to that is where things are. You don't think, but people don't always see that. But it is what it is. So yeah, podcast services, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We're all there. We're everywhere. I feel like I'm forgetting something else, but I don't know. Like, subscribe, comment, please, as always.
Check out Twitter. We usually do polls. We post new episodes, and I don't know what else. What else do you do on the Twitter?
That's it at the moment. Okay. I'm not Mr. Twitter. But that is it. We keep dragging this on longer and longer for whatever reason. I don't even know.
Because we don't want to say goodbye.
It's the longest outro I think we've ever done. It's like been 5 minutes of just talking about the outro.
Well, we don't want to say goodbye to our people, okay?
But that's it. You'll have a good time. We'll see you next time, hopefully in book 2. We have other stuff on the channel as well. Please check those out. But, till next time, long days and pleasant nights.